A campaign built around diversity was suddenly facing accusations from inside its own operation, not from outside opponents. There is a number at the center of this story: 10. 10 current or former minority campaign workers brought a racial discrimination lawsuit during the final stretch of a high-pressure Illinois governor's race. The candidate was J.B. Pritzker, and he denied the allegations. But the lawsuit forced a harder question: what happens when the workplace culture inside a political machine becomes evidence? By the end, you'll understand what was alleged, how the campaign answered, and why it matters beyond one election. Thursday, Chicago. J.B. Pritzker stepped in front of the discrimination lawsuit and tried to turn the frame away from crisis and toward campaign season chaos. His answer was not silence. It was timing. That was the campaign's first public line of defense. The allegations were not just disputed, they were being placed inside the pressure cooker of the final stretch. Then came the direct question: had staffers complained to Pritzker himself about discrimination? Not to me, he said. His running mate, Juliana Stratton, gave the same answer. That matters because the lawsuit was no longer only about what 10 current or former minority campaign workers alleged. It was now about who knew what, when they knew it, and whether the campaign culture matched the public brand. The signal was clear. This would not stay a quiet legal filing. It had become a public test of credibility. Before the lawsuit, Pritzker's campaign was selling more than a candidate. It was selling a governing identity. J.B. Pritzker entered the race as a wealthy Democratic figure in Illinois, backed by a campaign message built around inclusion, organized labor, and outreach to communities that form the Democratic coalition. His running mate, Juliana Stratton, reinforced that image. The public brand was clear. This was supposed to be a campaign that understood representation. But campaigns are not normal workplaces. They are temporary machines built for one deadline: Election Day. Staff work long hours. Field offices chase voter contact goals, and supervisors often manage pressure faster than formal human resources systems can contain it. That does not prove discrimination happened. The campaign's position is that the claims are untrue, and in politics, late campaign allegations can become weapons. But here's the reframe. When a campaign makes diversity part of its public value system, minority staffers alleging different treatment create a different kind of risk. It is not only legal, it is reputational. The question becomes whether the internal machine matched the message on the podium, and the next dispute would turn on specific claims the campaign said it could disprove. The smallest claim was also the most personal. In the lawsuit, plaintiffs alleged that Supervisor DeJuan Jackson was pressured to cut his dreadlocks, and that after doing so, he received a promotion and a pay raise. That allegation fit the lawsuit's broader theme: minority staffers saying appearance, treatment, and opportunity were not handled equally inside the campaign. But Jackson publicly disputed that version. That matters because one disputed detail does not erase a lawsuit, but it does weaken a clean narrative. Then came the field office claim. The lawsuit alleged that Black and Latino workers were concentrated in POD 4, covering Chicago's south and west sides. According to the plaintiffs, that pod faced unequal treatment and unsafe working conditions. The structure itself became part of the accusation, not just what individual supervisors said, but where minority workers were placed and what conditions they were expected to accept. The campaign's answer was that the claims were untrue. And on one specific allegation, it offered documents. Plaintiffs claimed an unnamed staffer said Pritzker would not visit a Southside campaign office until the shooting stopped. The campaign said records showed he visited that office 4 times that year. That is the rebuttal stack. Denial, a public contradiction from Jackson, and documents tied to office visits. But now comes the number promised earlier. 10 current or former minority campaign workers filed the lawsuit. Let that land for a second. Not one disgruntled aide, not an anonymous whisper. 10 named plaintiffs, current or former workers alleging racial discrimination, harassment, and retaliation inside a campaign built around inclusion. And once the number becomes 10, the dispute stops being only about isolated facts. It becomes a pattern the campaign had to answer. Call her Maya. Her age was not reported in the public account, but her job was clear: a Black female female field organizer assigned to Peoria. Before the lawsuit, that role would have sounded like a step into political power. You organize volunteers, you knock doors, you become the human link between campaign promises and voters who rarely meet the candidate. The campaign denies the discrimination claims, and that denial matters. Allegations are not verdicts. But the human question is narrower. What happens when a worker thinks she was brought in not as a professional, but as a demographic requirement? Then the allegation moves from insulting to physical. After housing reportedly fell through when a host family learned she was black, she allegedly slept in her car and at a campaign office. Later, the lawsuit says she was placed in a hotel she considered unsafe. Let that land. This was not just legal language. It was housing, safety, dignity, and whether leadership was listening. And field organizers are not background staff. They are the campaign's face in neighborhoods, churches, union halls, and small businesses. If they feel disposable, the damage does not stay inside headquarters. It travels door to door. The feedback loop starts inside the campaign machine itself. A statewide campaign hires fast, assigns fast, and pushes workers into long hours under intense pressure. Field staff are expected to stay loyal, solve problems quietly, and keep the operation moving. That structure can turn complaints into something leadership hears late, minimizes early, or reframes as disloyalty when the stakes get higher. Pritzker's side has a serious argument. The lawsuit landed in the final weeks of a campaign, when every allegation can become a political weapon. His campaign also produced documents disputing at least one claim, saying he had visited the South Side office 4 times that year. That matters. Evidence matters. Timing matters. But the plaintiff's side has its own serious argument. Discrimination complaints are often hardest to prove because they do not always appear as one clean order or one recorded sentence. They can show up in assignments, housing decisions, tone, safety concerns, and who gets believed when a worker says something is wrong. Then comes the financial pressure point. $5 million settlement. Let that land. 10 plaintiffs. 1 campaign. A multi-million-dollar demand. A total denial. That is the loop. Internal complaints become legal claims. Legal claims become political ammunition. And political incentives make every side sound less trustworthy. The next question is who benefits when the workplace dispute becomes a campaign weapon? This is why the Illinois lawsuit reaches beyond one Chicago campaign office. The same feedback loop can appear in New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles, or Philadelphia, anywhere political ideals collide with rushed hiring, long hours, and field operations built under pressure. Pritzker's campaign says the claims were untrue and timing matters. But the test is still the Peoria organizer, the worker who needs housing, safety, and a supervisor who responds before lawyers get involved. A campaign's values are not proven by the press release. They are proven by how the least powerful staffer is treated. Do you see late campaign lawsuits as political attacks, workplace accountability, or both? Thank you for watching.